Hey, what's up, everybody? Bienvenidos de nuevo a Dos Guiris sin guía. Es Andres.
I don't know about you, Mike, but I feel totally without a guía.
Totally without a guía. We are completamente sin guía. And that's actually a pretty good transition into what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about suffixes, but more specifically, diminutive suffixes in Spanish, which is something that is super common. So without further ado, Andres, I'm going to let you take that away, seeing as how you're the one who came up with this idea to talk about.
Yeah, man. So, here's the thing. There is this really awesome quality in the Spanish language that allows you to be really playful and inventive with just about any word. There's this thing called diminutive, and to save the English
the other one,
Augmentative. And you don't change the meaning of the word usually, but what you do is cause it to be exaggerated to a smaller degree or a much higher degree.
There's various different changes it can make to the word. So it can be related to its physical size, it can be related to age, it can be related to quality of something, or it can be just kind of a playful thing to add on the end.
So what we're going to do today in our podcast is run through a list of all the really fun and cool ways to spruce up your words. And I feel like it's quite hard to learn at a natural scale, to really incorporate in your language, and especially because you can try to add one to the end and it just doesn't pair properly and it sounds odd to them. You want to say pericazo instead of peliculón.
Yeah.
Peliculato, right?
Well,
that's not right. It's peliculón. Without having enough contact with the language and hearing enough people repeat the word peliculón, obviously you would just stick with pelicula. But if you know some of the suffixes, you can start attaching them and people will correct you, or it's more probable that the word will come up, like they repeat it after you, and then you can hear it said the right way. But the thing is this is constant in their language. I didn't notice it so much when we were living in Madrid, and until my level got to a certain point where I could really hear everything they were saying, it wasn't until then that I realized, bro, they're adjusting constantly. I think that this actually swings really smoothly into something else, which we were talking about a little bit before we started, and that's how with some of these words, you're going to have to actually add unexpected letters to create the proper ending, right? For a lot of them, if they're in a vowel, you have to add a C or a Z, and we don't have to get into the weeds about that, but if you were to try to use your logical brain, you would remember that you're just trying to attach ito, which would thereby result in something more like
bebeito,
cafeito. And this makes a diphthong, and if you can't hear it yet, bebeito, cafeito, that just sounds strange. You just need to spend a little bit more time with it. But if you were to allow yourself to operate more along the lines of, does this sound right? Does this feel right? Have I heard that sound before? Then it's going to be a fast red flag we need to do something to adjust this word. And this is just something I wanted to point out.
If you're not quite sure, trust your gut. Trust your ear. If you totally know, definitely in your mind, and you know the rule, for 100%, we'll stick with that. That's totally fine. But if you're not sure, your ear can be a huge leg up.
Okay, so I've got a list of some of the more common. Actually, I think this is close to all the suffixes that they use for diminutives and augmentatives. And we could just run through it and talk about how the suffix adjusts to create the new meaning with the root word. So, for instance, we said earlier besito, and our diminutive here is ito, and it's going to cause the word beso to be just a little bit sweeter, a little bit cuter. I think, would you agree with that one?
Yeah, I'd say so. It can mean a real small kiss instead of a makeout session. It could be a small peck on the cheek. Or it can mean if you're talking to a child and it's just a little bit sweeter, a little bit more innocent. Very similar to in English, if we add a Y to the end of a word with kitty, doggy, that kind of thing, it makes it a little bit more child-friendly, a little bit more playful.
And then, so here's the other one that's like the equivalent of ito, but I think it's a lot more prevalent in Spain than some other places, which is illo, and that's I-L-L-O. You'll find it often attached to the end of poco.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, little. And one way to do it is poquito, just as we said before. But here, they also say poquillo. So here's one. Cerveza is a beer.
Yeah.
And you'll hear people talk about, like, give me a little caña, and they'll say cervecita, like we said, most common one. But then some people say cervecica, I-C-A.
I don't know if I've ever heard that one.
Yeah, I didn't think so, man. I believe that the girl was from Asturias or Galicia.
So that seems like it's probably a very regional type thing, yeah.
Yeah, and I can't be sure, man. Like, maybe she was from somewhere else, but I definitely know I had a coworker 2 schools ago that used to say cervetica. Needless to say, this is also a diminutive, not something to make it larger. So but it's not talking about the size, is it? It would be the same as cervecita, and it's just like almost saying like this innocent, unoffensive beer. What do you think the purpose of it is here?
Dude, let me say this. I'm gonna bring this back to caña versus cañita. That doesn't change the meaning at all. A caña is pretty much just one size. A caña is always like about this big. So some people say una caña, or you could be like, oye, ponme una cañita. I mean, you could. It wouldn't be terribly, but you totally could say that. Just to be playful. I think a lot of times it's actually, that's what I was going on in the beginning about, is sometimes it totally is meant to have you change what you're thinking about in your mind by making it a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller or a little bit higher or lower quality. But sometimes it doesn't mean anything. Sometimes it's just playful. I swear to God.
I'm so happy you just brought that up, because now that you're saying that, like, every time I hear people order, and I'm even like a part of this, I add suffixes. Not just like without willing or wanting to, because like that's the normal way to talk. Un pinchito, picanita is just as frequent for me as saying it the regular way. And I'm not trying to even change the word.
Dude, let me say this. I feel like it's just adding a little bit more personality to it. Like if I walked into a bar and I like asked the camarero and I was like, oye, ponme un pincho. You're just some random dude. But you're like, oye, macho, ponme un pinchón, eh? Like, and you'd be like, give me your best tapas, let's go. Give me a big old fat plate of tapas. It's just like, is he actually going to give you more or a higher quality one? Probably not. But it's just kind of fun to talk that way. It's just a little bit more personality into it,
All right, so right now we've got up to cervecita, and I want to introduce you to ato. And this goes with things like niño. Es un niñato de mierda. Alright? It's a little shitty kid. I worked in elementary schools. I heard it first and then I duplicated it, okay, people? So don't be too critical. Then there's another one, bote. And you'll find this attached to things like macho. And macho is like a dude or a guy, bro. So machote. But something interesting happens here. And this could just be one person's take on it, but I remember sitting in Arevalo asking somebody what machote meant, and it's not just like more of a bro. It has a secondary meaning, and the ote here serves to like make that guy more manly, but in an attractive sense. Like the way that a girl explained it to me very clearly was that machote for her and for other women meant that guy was like bona fide hot.
Yeah,
and like I normally wouldn't use it that way, and I don't think that it needs to be used that way, but it definitely holds that meaning. So it makes me wonder if ote then has multiple abilities.
Well, let me say this kind of goes back to like the higher quality that I was talking about. Like, you know what I mean? It's not even, you don't only rank obviously a person by their physical attractiveness, But that is one way to rank people. So if you were saying less attractive and more attractive here, that would be on the higher quality side, you're like the machote. So that goes back to just what I was talking about, that it can mean a physical difference. It can mean kind of just a very subtle kind of feeling type difference. It can mean a bunch of different things.
After ote, we have ete, right? Ete. And this pairs nicely with majo, someone who's nice. If you want to exaggerate it, they're going to say majete. The next one is azo.
It's my favorite.
We talked about that just a little bit already. So something that Mike taught me when I came over to his house in Segovia, that was like already 2 years ago, so crazy. He was saying the word temazo over and over, and I'm like, what the hell is this, man? I get it, like it's a big subject. But you were talking about a song, right? Like that's temazo is like a really big song right now. Dude, I think I got to your house by like 9 p.m. that night, and easily by 10 you'd mentioned it like 5 times.
My God, dude, I would imagine
we were drinking and we put on a bunch of music, and you're like, "Vaya que te mato, macho." He's lived here so much longer than me. I want to be able to talk like that already.
Dude, but I wanted to say briefly that when you use these suffixes, that's a kind of small thing that isn't necessarily that hard, but makes you sound like you know what you're talking about.
So after ato, I have here in or ina. And you'll hear this paired with chaval, right? So a chaval is just a kid. It would be a boy. And they'll call him un chavalín or una chavalina. And I don't think it changes it. I'm so happy that you said that now, because you kind of let me off the hook. Before I thought that I needed to like substantiate that this little diminutive had meaning, and now it turns out that people just say pinchito y chavalín because it sounds kind of nice.
I think it depends on the context. Sometimes they are trying to say bigger or smaller or higher or lower quality, but then sometimes you just say it. And I feel like that's really just depending on the way a particular person speaks and the context in which they are saying that. And that's something you kind of got to pick up.
And then the last one is actually kind of how we began this podcast today, talking about whether it is peliculazo or the correct one being peliculón, and that is on. So pelicula, many of you are probably widely aware of this, means movie, and by attaching the on suffix, you're going to then designate it as like a freaking awesome movie, or just, like a box office.
Like a blockbuster, or vaya capitolón de dos Guiris sin guía. Pues ya nos va el tiempo, entonces nos vemos la semana que viene.
Sí, y yo me tiro porque tengo que coger mi avión y vamos a Ibiza, así que hasta pronto, chicos.
Vaya machón, vaya majete, macho, machito, no sé qué, no sé cuánto.
No sé qué, no sé cuánto, hell yeah.